When you hear the name Michael Phelps, you think greatness, right? But his story, it's not just about the medals. It's about what it really takes to become a legend. And maybe more importantly, what happens after you've conquered the world. So let's dive in.
All right, let's just start with a number. A number that's, well, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. 23. That's how many Olympic gold medals he won. I mean, think about that. It's just a staggering number, more than any athlete ever. But wait, it gets even crazier. 28. That's his total medal count. Most athletes, they spend their entire lives dreaming of winning just one Olympic medal. He has 28 of them. It's just wild. And this is where it just goes to a whole new level. Like, forget comparing him to other people. Let's compare him to entire countries. If Michael Phelps was his own nation, he'd be a swimming superpower. He literally ranked third all time, right behind the entire United States and Australia. A one-man country. But really, the story of Michael Phelps is a tale of two different people. On one side, you've got the machine. That unstoppable force in the water, just racking up records and medals like it's nothing. But on the other side, there's the man. The actual human being with all the passion, the drive, and the huge personal struggles that forged him and almost destroyed him. So to really understand him, we gotta go all the way back to the beginning, back to Baltimore, where something everyone saw as a weakness in this kid would actually end up being the source of his superpower. So back in 6th grade, Phelps gets diagnosed with ADHD. You can imagine it, right? This kid with just endless energy, couldn't sit still, his teachers had a tough time. But swimming, that became his thing. He started when he was 7, and it wasn't just a sport for him. It was the perfect place to pour all that crazy, relentless energy.
And then comes this moment of doubt that could have changed everything. A teacher actually told his mom, Debbie, flat out, he will never be able to focus on anything. Can you imagine hearing that as a parent? Just devastating. But here's the thing about Phelps. Instead of letting that define him, he took that comment and turned it into pure rocket fuel. His whole attitude was basically, oh yeah, watch me, I'll show you. And boy, did he ever show them. He took all that energy, all that focus, and pointed it like a laser at the pool. And at just 15 years old, he qualifies for the Sydney 2000 Olympics. He was the youngest guy to make the U.S. men's swim team in almost 70 years. Just incredible. Now, he didn't actually win a medal in Sydney. He finished 5th. But that 5th place finish, that lit a fire under him like you wouldn't believe. The very next day, his coach, Bob Bowman, just writes 2 letters on his workout sheet. WR, world record. The message was loud and clear. It wasn't about just making the team anymore. The goal now was to be the fastest in the world, period. Okay, so this is what launched him into the peak of his career, the era of the machine. And you have to ask, how did he get so dominant? Well, it all boiled down to his mindset, this mental framework that made him seem absolutely invincible. His whole psychology really rested on 3 main pillars. First, an intense, and I mean intense, hatred of losing. Second, a level of preparation that was pretty much obsessive. And third, this incredible technique of detailed visualization. Let's talk about that first one, hating to lose. Phelps has said it himself. I hate losing more than I love winning. Think about that.
For him, getting a silver or bronze medal, that wasn't a win. It was a failure. That's why when he looks at his collection of 28 medals, he really only sees the 23 gold ones.
So that brings us to visualization. His coach got him to play the tape, to run through races in his head. But here's the key. He didn't just picture the perfect race. He would also play the what-if tape. What if his suit rips? What if his goggles leak? And, the most important one, he would rehearse the everything goes horribly wrong tape. He was mentally prepared for total disaster.
Okay, so let's put this whole idea to the test. Picture it. You're Michael Phelps. It's the Beijing Olympics in 2008, the final of the 200-meter butterfly. You're going for a history-making gold medal. You dive in and bam, your goggles completely fill with water. You can't see a thing. You're blind. What do you do now? For pretty much any other swimmer on Earth, that's instant panic. Game over. But for Phelps, it was just time to play the tape. He stayed totally calm, switched to his everything goes wrong mental rehearsal, and just started counting his strokes. He knew from countless hours in the pool the exact number of strokes it took to get from one wall to the other. And so, swimming completely blind, he not only won the gold medal, he broke the world record. Now that is the power of preparation. But here's the dark side of that kind of drive. What happens when the machine has done everything it was built to do? For Michael Phelps, once he'd conquered the entire world of swimming, the price of all that gold turned out to be a really, really steep and dangerous fall. You can kind of see the whole arc of his career right here. Sydney was the debut. Athens, he becomes a star. Beijing, he becomes a legend. And then London. That's the burnout. The very same obsessive drive that made him the machine was now the thing causing him to break down. He wasn't swimming because he loved it anymore. He was swimming because he felt like he had to. And he was starting to hate the one thing that had defined his entire life. And after London in 2012, that machine it broke down completely. He retired, sure, but he was totally lost. I mean, think about it. His entire life, he was Michael Phelps, the swimmer. Take that away, and who was he? He had no idea. And that kicked off this really deep, really dangerous identity crisis. And this struggle, it became a fight for his life. He sank into a really severe depression. We're talking locking himself in his room for days at a time. And in his own words, he said he got to a point where he just didn't want to be alive anymore. This was a battle that was way, way bigger than any Olympic final. But you know what? It's right there, at his absolute lowest point, that his story takes a turn. It stops being about athletic glory and starts being about human resilience. He made a choice to fight back. And by doing that, he discovered a completely new kind of finish line. He went and got help. He started therapy. And he's been very clear that it saved his life. So when he decided to come back for the Rio Olympics in 2016, it wasn't about the medals. It wasn't about the money. It was for him. It was his chance to end his career the way he wanted to, and to send a message to the world that asking for help is not a weakness. It's actually one of the strongest things you can do. And this quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? His whole mission changed. It wasn't about collecting gold anymore. It was about smashing the stigma around mental health. He figured out that saving just one life by sharing his story, well, that was a bigger win than any Olympic medal he ever won. So when you look at his whole story, it's about so much more than swimming. It's about turning your biggest challenges into your greatest strengths.
It's about preparing not just for success, but for failure. And ultimately, it's about figuring out what victory really means. Way back when he was starting, his coach took the word can't out of his vocabulary. He just wasn't allowed to say it. And that kind of leaves us with a question to think about, doesn't it? What's the self-imposed can't that you've put in your own life? And what could you do if you decided to just get rid of it?